Hello, welcome back to my channel. I've been tagged again, this time by Literature Lila. Lila, thank you very much indeed. This is the finally fall book tag, and I'm going to get started right away. So, question number 1. In fall, the air is crisp and clear. Name a book with a vivid setting. This one is easy for me to answer. It's a whole series of books. It's the Devery series by Catherine Kerr. This is the most vivid, gritty, realistic world I've ever visited in fantasy. I love it. The Catherine Kerr books are my favourite books. They've been so since the 1980s, and I'm still amazed that she isn't huge and all over BookTube. I feel like I'm one of the very few people that's actually talking about Catherine Kerr or her books, and that's a terrible shame because I think as a writer, she is amazing, and the world she has created, particularly Devery and Eldid, the two main provinces that are discussed in her books, are just so real and so full of stuff. Question number 2. Nature is beautiful, but also dying. Name a book that is beautifully written but also deals with a heavy topic like loss or grief. Again, this is another easy one to answer. A trilogy of books springs immediately to mind, and that is the Farseer trilogy by Robin Hobb, and also the books that followed. These are, without doubt, the most devastating books I've ever read. I experienced genuine, legitimate, full-on grief when a couple of the characters died. I won't name which characters because of spoilers, but I really suffered quite badly reading these books, but yet I couldn't stop because they were so exquisitely well written. Robin Hobb is, in my opinion, one of the greatest writers working in fantasy, and her prose is just delectable. However, it's miserable as fuck. It's really depressing. So although I really thoroughly enjoyed the Farseer books, I would hesitate to pick them up again because knowing where they're going and what's going to happen, I just don't know if I could face putting myself through that again. Question number 3. Fall is back to school season. Share a non-fiction book that taught you something new. Again, this is an easy one to answer, and I've got the book on my shelf, so I'll be right back, bear with me. A Short History of Nearly Everything by Bill Bryson. Now, Bill Bryson is known primarily as a travel writer, and his travel books are superb. They are epic and funny. And he also writes books about the history and etymology of language as well, and they are slightly less epic and moderately less funny, but still a brilliant read. But this is the entire history of the universe in a book. It's a miraculous piece of research. Only a writer of Bill Bryson's surpassing intelligence, wit and talent could have researched and compiled and collated a book with so much information and so much history that is so full of really dense scientific stuff, and yet have it be a thoroughly enjoyable and fun read. This is a page turner. I couldn't put it down. Everything in this book is fascinating, and this book really does cover the entire history of the universe. It's a miraculous piece of work. Not only did this book teach me something new, but it taught me many somethings new, and it did it in such a way that the information actually stuck. I still remember what's in this book. That's more than school ever did for me. Question number 4. In order to keep warm, it's good to spend some time with the people that we love. Name a fictional family, household or friend group that you'd like to be part of. This one was more difficult. I actually had to scratch my head for quite a considerable time because the majority of the books I read take place in an environment where most of the characters are in constant struggle and strife. So I've had to disconnect myself from the books that I read as an adult and think back to some of the stuff I was reading as a child, which in a way was a little bit warmer and cosier and less fraught. So, drum roll please. I have a stack of books to show you, and they're all in the same series by the same author about the same character. Don't laugh. Introducing Anastasia Krupnik. This is a series of books by Lois Lowry, and I loved them as a child. Obviously, they're targeted at little girls, but in many ways I was a little girl, and I don't mind admitting it. So they start with Anastasia when she's about 8 years old. She's a very smart, intelligent, driven girl. I hate the thing it says at the top, introducing the determined activities of the girl who thinks for herself. Even stupid people think for themselves, they just don't do it particularly well. So that's a redundant statement, and it's also sexist and patronising. But I understand what the publishers were trying to do. They were trying to sell this girl as an empowered female character for young girls to aspire to and look up to, and that's fine. I also, by the way, love the artwork on the front, and all of the books in the series. Here's Anastasia again. Anastasia at your service. Anastasia, ask your analyst. This is my favourite one, by the way. Freud is in this one. Anastasia on her own. You see, she's gradually getting older, and it's the same artist doing each cover design, and it's good artwork because she looks like a real girl, and you can see her growing up gradually throughout the books. I have to say, the later books in the series aren't my favourites. At some point, as I say, she started at about the age of 8 in the first book, and at some point she stuck at about the age of 13, and I was disappointed by that. I wanted to see her continue to grow up into her 20s, but at some point, somewhere after Ask Your Analyst, or actually somewhere after Anastasia on Her Own, which is another of my favourite ones in the set, she just stopped growing up and stayed the same age, which was a shame, obviously because they were trying to keep it for their target audience, who were 13-year-old girls. The reason I've chosen them for this question on the list is because not only is Anastasia a really witty, fun character to follow, but she comes from a really lovely family as well. Her father is a published poet and a professor of English and literature at a local college, and her mum is an artist. She's always got smudges of paint on her face and hairbrushes sticking out of her hair. They're a bohemian family, and there's a new baby on the way, which turns out to be her brother, who obviously grows up with her throughout the rest of the books. They are a really lovely family. They're Jewish, they're very Jewish, but not in a religious sense. They're Jewish in a humour sense. I really connect with the Jewish humour in these books. This is a family that I would be very happy either growing up with or certainly being friends with. Question number 5. The colourful leaves are piling up on the ground. Show us a pile of fall-coloured spines. These spines are vaguely fall-coloured. They're very faded, so they would be much more fall-coloured if they weren't faded. But I hope you appreciate my pile of fall-coloured spines. They smell a bit mouldy. Leaf mould, it's a thing. Question number 6. Fall is the perfect time for some storytelling by the fireside. Share a book wherein somebody is telling a story. Easy. I've just shown you the books, and I'm not going to get them again, but it's the Anastasia Krupnik books again. Anastasia Krupnik is an aspiring writer, and throughout the series of books, she's constantly writing. Question number 7. The nights are getting darker. Share a dark, creepy read. Turf Wars by J.K. Rowling. Question number 8. The days are getting colder. Name a short, heartwarming read that could warm up somebody's cold and rainy day. Easy. Winnie-the-Pooh. Question number 9. Fall returns every year. Name an old favourite that you'd like to return to soon. the Empire trilogy. I did a book report some time back in which I discussed the Empire trilogy, and doing that report made me quite excited to read them again. I've read them probably about 10 or 12 times over the years, but it's at least a year since the last time I read them, so it feels kind of overdue. They're some of my favourite books. I love them to bits. Each book in the trilogy has a happy ending. Question number 10. Fall is the perfect time for cosy reading nights. Share your favourite cosy reading accessories. Easy. I only have one accessory, and it's Frodo. As long as I've got Frodo curled up nearby where I can see her or feel her, or she's lying on top of me or next to me, I'm very, very happy. There is nothing cosier than curling up with a book and your cat. I love Frodo. She's my baby. So that's it. 10 questions answered with, I hope, a little bit more dignity and brevity than my previous tag. And so I'm going to quit while I'm ahead and say thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, you know what to do. Please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and I will see you next time. See you later.